Good afternoon. My name's Wendy Randall, and I'm one of the consultant midwives at the John Radcliffe Hospital. So I'm here this afternoon for our normal catch-up, just to hopefully answer any questions you may have. It is the 12th of April, so you may all have decided to go out to the shops and do the things that you haven't been able to do up until this point. But otherwise I'm here to answer any questions you have. I suspected there would be some questions around what's currently happening in the maternity service, and if there are any changes, etc. happening. So I just wanted to update you that we are having meetings this week to talk about what we can do next in our next steps moving on. So thank you, Michelle, for your good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too. Catherine, you're asking, do we need to have a COVID test during labours? So in answer to the first part of your question, yes, we do. We do two tests when you're in labour. We do what's called a lateral flow test, which gives us a result within 30 minutes. And then we also do another test which gives us a result 12 to 24 hours onwards. The lateral flow test gives us a bit of an indication, but the other test is more reliable, but obviously takes a bit longer to get the result. So yes, I'm afraid it's two lots of nasal swabs, which aren't very pleasant, but hopefully it's all done very quickly. And we've been using that to help us keep people in the right places, doing the right things. And you're asking, have the rules changed yet for partners visiting? So at present, it is 1 hour a day for one partner, and we are hoping that we're going to be able to make some changes to potentially make that a bit longer, but it hasn't been finalised yet. And what else will be our pathway to recover. We didn't want to plan too much too soon. I appreciate it's frustrating and everybody wants us to get back to normal, but we just wanted to point out that actually the age group of people having babies is the most mobile group, who can be out and about, and the least vaccinated group. So what we didn't want to do was make too many big changes and then find that we had a problem and had to go back to where we were before, because I'm sure you feel the same way as we do, that we want to get out of this and not come back into it again. So that's why we're being very, very careful about what we do and what we plan, to make sure that we're doing the right things at the right time, to keep everyone safe. We've got various bodies of people saying, oh, you need to open up and get back to normal, and other people saying, are you able to do that while still keeping your staff safe? Because obviously they have families, etc. as well, and other commitments, and we can't afford to deplete our resources. We have, felt it over the last year, more so over the last 3 months, with losing staff who have to self-isolate and be off work, which then obviously impacts on you seeing on your other appointments with the midwives, the doctors, the ultrasonographers. So we are constantly having these conversations. I've been off for a week, so I am playing catch up today, but when I spoke to our director of midwifery this morning, she said the plans are very much being put in place this week, so that we will have a roadmap from where we're working to, and I promise we will share it here as well as on the website, etc. Because Maternity Voices are being very good at sharing our most up-to-date information with you. So Catherine, I'm hoping by the beginning of June that we will have a lot more normality happening than what we currently do now. So Michelle, you're asking, can you ask if they are allowed doula support birthing people and their partners? So At present, it's no. It will be something that's looked at as part of our plan moving forwards. People that are, the way people are using doula support in labour at present is either on social media, or some people are having their doula as their main birth partner, and their partner is staying at home with potentially other children. But I appreciate other hospitals are changing, but we have to make sure that we're doing the right changes at the right time, and like I said, not putting other people at risk along the way. So I gather it was just about a week, 2 weeks ago, where we went back to the 1 hour visiting per day, and that seems to be going well, and our numbers seem to be stable, and we still got staff at work, which is really important. And so we will be looking at the other things now. We have to scope out GP surgeries for antenatal care to see if they're happy with the additional footfall of partners going to antenatal appointments in the community. So our Director of Midwifery has been in touch with our commissioning body to find out, are they happy for us to go back to partners coming into GP surgery? So that's really positive. And the feedback that we've had from Maternity Voices Partnership is very much about our focus should be on the postnatal visiting, because that seems to be the thing that people would rather change first. But we're aware of the key points that people have asked, even in these questions sessions, when people have asked what changes are going to happen. Can I have my partner in my 36-week scan? Can we have a doula for labour? Can we have more postnatal visiting, or people for induction? So we absolutely appreciate that we need a roadmap moving forwards. We're just potentially, you may feel that we're being more cautious than other areas, but it only takes for us to lose one ultrasonographer who has to be at home or isolating because of COVID, or hopefully not having COVID, and that may take out our 36-week scans, because we do so many scans a day that we don't have spare staff sitting about. So the implications of potentially opening up too quickly and putting our staff at risk can mean that it would impact on the rest of the service. So at present we're still in the current situation that we are, and we're also looking at the operational issues around using lateral flow tests for partners, which has been another recommendation that some units are doing, but that makes it all quite difficult as well, how you access them, and how we access the results. It's 30 minutes between having the test to from partners then being present. So there's lots of logistical things that we need to sort out, and promise it is absolutely on our plans to look at it and get it better. So it's really exciting. I couldn't believe the snow this morning, but now I can just see out my window that the snow has melted and the sun is out. So what a fantastic start for the next part of the lockdown measures. And we just ask people to follow the government's recommendations. It is incredibly important that we don't do too much too soon, and that we're following the recommendations, so that we don't end up with another peak again. So and then the other thing is, again, remembering if you are in contact with somebody that you have testing, and if you do test positive, you need to ensure that you tell your community midwife about it, because there's an additional level of support that we put in place for people who have had a COVID infection. And we do still have people in the hospital, pregnant women who are COVID positive. So it is something that it's not that we have seen it completely gone. I'm just going to scroll down. Camilla, you're asking if you needed an epidural, do you have the lighter version so we can still move? and also if continuous monitoring is needed, is there wireless available? So yes, Camilla, our epidurals are lighter so that people can still move. It is termed patient controlled. It means you get a button and you can top it up as many times as you like. The more you top it up, the less mobile you will be. But obviously, if you need it for the pain, then it's important for you to top up. And all of our monitors on Delivery Suite are wireless, which enables them to also be used in the pool as well. We have a pool on Delivery Suite. But for us, being mobile in labour is an absolute benefit. Yes, so they're all wireless to enable you to be upright and mobile, but hopefully that won't be required, and you can be low risk in a midwifery-led unit. So Steph, you're asked, you're being induced on Thursday, can your partner come with you from the beginning? Steph, I'm sorry, at present we haven't made the changes. I don't think that's going to be one of the first changes to be made, so I think unlikely for this Thursday. But when you go from the point that you either go to the Spires or to Delivery Suite as part of your induction, that's when your partner will be with you, and with you until after the baby's born. Brittany, you're saying when will partners be allowed to the 36-week scan? So hopefully we will have a pathway to be able to share with you about that, but at present then partners can't come to the 36-week scan. They come to the other scans, but it's just about, again, trying to keep our ultrasonographers as safe as possible. But I will update you with that as it evolves. I think, Corinne, I've just answered that question for you as well. There's not going to be a quick change this week. Alexandra, will the rules revisiting changing soon in Oxford? And you're asking about the lateral flow tests in pregnancy. Other hospitals seem to be requesting it now from both patients and partners for all antenatal appointments. So Alexandra, at present, we're not asking for it for antenatal appointments. We're only asking the lateral flow test for women that come in to stay as an inpatient in the hospital, or women in labour. Like I said, we'll be sharing our pathway soon about how all of that maps out. Corinne, you're asking, aside from gas and air, are there any other pain relief options available in the Spires? Yeah, Corinne, there is a leaflet in Oxford University Hospital's website. In the maternity pages, there's a link to leaflets about the Spires and the pain relief that's available there. But literally, we can do everything. We have a selection of coping strategies, including the birthing pool. We have gas snare, we have diamorphine. The only thing we can't do on the Spires is an epidural. So Rose, you're asking what's the process for induction at the moment. You're incredibly nervous about not having your husband with you for some of the time if you have to be induced. So Rose, the induction method that we use is a mechanical induction. So if you are a low-risk pregnancy, we bring you in the day before you're induced. So if you were going to be induced tomorrow, we bring you in today for about an hour, and it's at that point that the midwife assesses you, assesses the baby, makes sure everyone's well, and we then pop a little tube, it's called a catheter, into your cervix, and on the end of that catheter is a balloon, and we fill that with 30 ml of water. And that balloon causes some pressure in the cervix to encourage it to open, and you can go home. As long as you and the baby are fine, you can go home with that catheter in. So partners can wait and give you a lift home again, or go with you in your transport, and then you come back in the following day at a set time to have your waters broken. And it's at the point that you go either into labour. Some people go into labour from that, and your partner would be with you for that. But when you change environment, when you change from the ward to either the Spires or the delivery suite, is when your partner stays with you. But the team, the induction team, are so lovely. And you know, there's not lots of people all round about you, and they're there to support you. There's a midwife, there's a maternity support worker there to help. So I appreciate that you're nervous about not having your husband with you. You're welcome to dial him in while the midwife is talking to you if you want. But yeah, we are looking at the process, but it's unlikely that we'll be changing the induction process in the next week or so. But watch this space. But please be reassured, we're there to help as much as possible. Brittany, yours is the 17th of May. Is that you're going to be induced on the 17th of May? Or is that for your scan? I wasn't sure. Perhaps if you can give me an idea. We want to be able to support you, Brittany, so do talk to your midwife if you have concerns. Your community midwife may be able to provide some more reassurance for you. Laura, you're saying, why do midwives touch your belly during labour? And so you're saying that you had a traumatic experience a week ago. One of the things that you remember with fear is that they touched your belly without asking for your permission, and that made the pain of the ongoing contraction unbearable. You were in so much pain you couldn't otherwise talk. So it's about why we do that. So Laura, in labour, we may examine your abdomen before we do a vaginal examination. So we're trying to determine what position the baby is in and how engaged baby's head is. So that's not something that we would do during a contraction. That's something that we would wait for until the end of the contraction before we do it again. Anything that we do to you, we would only do with your permission, and I'm so sorry if that wasn't the case beforehand. The other reason that we may that we will put our hand on your tummy is to feel the contractions. Again, if you don't want us to, then obviously that's fine. But the reason that we're doing it, especially if we're doing the intermittent monitoring, is the most important time to listen to a baby's heart rate, if we're doing the intermittent monitoring with a handheld Doppler, is immediately after a contraction, because it's in that time that will tell you how the baby responded to the contraction. So the ideal thing for a midwife to do is to feel your tummy for that contraction, and then when she feels that the contraction is going away, that's when she listens in. So she listens in immediately afterwards. And so that gives us the reassurance that we know how well that baby coped with contraction. So, you know, I'm hoping it, you know, now that you know about it, that will be much better for you. That she doesn't have to do it with every contraction. It's only just before she's listening to the baby's heart rate. So that's roughly every 15 minutes in the first stage of labour, and roughly every 5 minutes in the second stage of labour. So hopefully that hand isn't too much of a nuisance. And sometimes I think when you know something's going to happen, it makes it a bit better. But do, you know, if you want to write down that was a fear for you and that you struggled with it, if you write that in your birth preferences page in your note, just so that the midwife knows and she can make sure that, you know, she explains again what she's going to do and why. But you always have a choice over things, but I think it's just understanding what that is for you. So I hope that answers that question. So Paula, you're asking, do the lateral flow tests given in community work as proof when going into hospital? So this is the thing that we're looking for in terms of antenatal going forwards. If you did a lateral flow test, if you have the kits at home and you've done a test and you bring it in with you, then the midwife wouldn't, you know, if you said it was done, you know, before you came in, then the midwife wouldn't necessarily have to do another one. If you'd done it maybe a day or two before, then she would repeat it, but they will still do the other test, because that gives us more accurate results. Lateral tests are good, it's just that the other tests are much better. So Chloe, you had a miscarriage last June when your husband wasn't allowed to that scan. It was horrendous having that news on your own. With this pregnancy, I've had to have additional growth scans post 12 weeks, being told there might be a problem with the baby's growth. But your husband is not being allowed to these scans either. Surely now with cases low, I should be able to have your husband where to support you. I'm sorry that you don't feel that that we're managing your anxiety very well, and you know that you feel that the rates are low. The rates are low, but like I said at the beginning, you are in a population that is more mobile and less vaccinated, and you know there are people there for their standard 12 and 20 week scan, but your partner being there puts potentially those other people at risk, as well as the sonographer. That's extra people that they have to see that day. So I mean we have an arrangement with the fetal medicine unit that if there is an issue, an abnormality, then partners are going up to the fetal medicine unit with women, but you know, for scans that we're just monitoring growth, etc., we have just had to keep that to a minimum. So I appreciate that, you know, for you it just feels like one more person when there's those other people there, but again, it's just looking at contact spreading, and that does cause a problem. That's why we're not rushing into this, because for you it's just your birth partner, but we book 9,500 women in our trust in a year. So that's a potential 9,500 birth partners as well. For the people who want to have doulas, that's potentially another 19,000 people. You have 2 birth partners for everyone. So it's that contact in terms of our staff. So we have to make sure that we're keeping this service as fair as possible for everyone. I'm really sorry if it's causing you a lot of anxiety. You know, hopefully, like I said, we're on the way out and things are going to get better and better, but I'm sorry it hasn't helped you during the pregnancy. And I'm glad baby's been monitored well, and that things are, they're obviously, you know, going well with the additional scans. So Kerry, you're due in 4 weeks. Will your birth partner be able to be with you from the start to the finish? So yes, Kerry, while you're obviously at home before you come into hospital, your birth partner can be with you there. When you come into hospital for your labour assessment, your birth partner would come in with you for that, and you know, wherever you go to have your baby, your birth partner would be with you. So Rose, you're saying, can you let me know what to expect when you arrive at the GR in labour, please? Will your husband be able to be with you for the initial assessment? I think I just answered that, Rose, in terms of Kerry's comment there. So yes, they'll be with you as part of the labour assessment. Sarah Jane, as part of induction, once waters have been broken, can I go for walks in the hospital grounds? You're in as an inpatient thirsty for the balloon. Yes, absolutely. Of course you can. Estella, you're 30 weeks and you'd like to know to book your antenatal classes. So Estella, different, what we're trying to arrange just now is some virtual antenatal classes, and some community groups are a bit more ahead than others. So my advice, Estella, is speak to your community midwife, contact her, and she'll be able to tell you what's available. Everything is virtually just now, obviously, but there are some films that you may find helpful that are stored on this Facebook page. I think there's a YouTube link somewhere that you can get, that you can look at films. We've done films on how to cope in labour, how to know when I'm in labour, what to pack in my bag, you know, all of those things that might be helpful. And obviously there's the infant feeding ones, that sessions that occur every week as well. So lots of information there, but do contact your community midwife and she'll be able to tell you where they are with it. Kirsty, this is your third. You have a 38-week appointment and then nothing till 41 weeks. Do they sweep at 38 weeks? You had a sweep at 40 and 41 weeks previously. so generally, I thought that the midwives were just doing a stretch and sweep at 41 weeks in people having their second and subsequent baby. So for your first baby, you would have had a stretch and sweep at 40 and 41 weeks. And then for your second baby, it should just have been at 41 weeks. So it is routinely, Kirsty, it's at 41 weeks that you would have that stretch and sweep. But do contact your community midwife if you want to talk about the option of having additional ones. But it isn't always indicated, and because your body's done it twice before, it will probably just get on and do it again. Laura, if you're going to be induced, make sure that your partner is called, informed before you're taken to delivery suite. You were told by a midwife that she was going to call my husband before they transferred me to delivery suite, but she didn't. In the end, I was asked to call him when I was already in delivery suite. Oh, I'm so sorry that that was. I'm so sorry that that was your experience, Laura. I can follow that up with the induction of labour team, to see why that happened. I think that that's not normally what happens, so I don't know if there was somebody different covering that day or what was going on, but I will follow up on that, because generally we get people to either call them themselves or we call them before they move from the induction bay. Lindsay, how soon before should I receive an appointment for your dating scan? You're 10 weeks but have yet to receive a letter regarding this, and the referral was done by your GP. So Lindsay, have you had contact with your community midwife yet? I hope that you have. If you haven't had contact with the community midwife, you should have. You generally, we try to book you around 10 weeks pregnancy. So if you haven't, could you privately message, and I'll need your date of birth, your hospital number if you have one, if not your NHS number, and we can follow up on that. But your community midwife should be able to look into that for you. Ruth, you've got if your baby is still breech at 36 weeks, how do you know if it's still breech once labour starts? So Ruth, what we do if at 36 weeks your baby is breech is we invite you back to our breech clinic at it may be 36, 37, 38 weeks to see what's happening, and they can then advise you from there what you want to do if baby persists in a breech position. Sometimes they just scan you and find that baby is then head down again. But we would go through all of that with you. And obviously if you came in labour and your baby was particularly mobile, we would use a scan in labour to check position if we had any doubts, but generally we can tell from feeling your tummy. Lindsay, your booking appointment isn't till 11 and a half weeks. So Lindsay, have you got the contact details to contact the scan department, and you can call them yourself? If not, I haven't got them to hand with me just now. If you privately message me with your contact details, I could look up on the system to see if that scan has been booked and can look at that for you. Becky, when coming into the hospital for labour, can your partner return to the car to bring in your bags, or should you bring them with you for assessment? I mean, yes, they can go back to the car and bring them in. That's fine, if you're not sure. And some people just bring in a labour bag to begin with and get another bag if they're going to stay in hospital afterwards. But yes, we promise we don't lock them in, but we try to reduce the amount of time that they're in and out, and the contact that they have with other people. But yes, you don't have to bring all your bags in if you're not sure whether you need labour or not. Carly, you said that the new mechanical induction method, balloon, is a great option. Would this be offered to someone who's trying for feedback? Yes, it is, Carly. It is our ideal, it's what we recommend for all inductions. and because babies like it much better. Yeah, so very rarely do we have to use Prostin now, and it does give women the option of who've had a previous cesarean section of being induced. Amy, if your placenta is low and anterior at your 36-week appointment, it was low as 20 weeks, is a planned cesarean section done under general anaesthetic or with epidural? So Amy, if your placenta is still low and thus a cesarean section is recommended, it's done under, generally it's done under a spinal anaesthetic, which goes in and works quite quickly. Some anaesthetists combine the two, so they do a spinal and epidural in case they need to give you some extra pain relief afterwards. But yes, we try to keep people awake where possible, rather than under general anaesthetic, because it enables you to be more aware of what's happening around the birth of your baby, and for your partner, whoever your birth partner is, to be there and be present for the birth of the baby too. Because if you have a general anaesthetic, then your birth partner would just wait to receive the baby after it's born. So lots of questions today, and thank you so much for posting and sharing them. That's great. Like I said, I promise I'll be in touch with any changes or whatever we have, and please be aware we are it is an evolving plan, and we're trying to make sure that we can open up further, but at present to today there isn't any changes. And as soon as I can, I'm happy to be wrong and in 2 hours be back here telling you, oh, we've just decided to do something. I hope that's the case, but I think we need to make sure that we've got the best and safest plan in place for everyone. So again, I'm really sorry if that's causing additional anxiety for people. We just need to make sure that we're safely expanding, and not rushing into it and potentially putting you or our staff at more risk. So I'm going to leave you today because I don't think there are any more questions. I remember our infant feeding team are back on Thursday, and some of our community teams may be doing some more over the next few weeks as well. So watch out and stay safe.